Alright, this is the last part of the D3 TypeScript React tutorial, and we are going to be learning about transitions. In the last video, we learned how to update by adding and removing elements from the bar chart. Now we're going to make it look a little bit more seamless with transitions. First off, I'm going to explain some code and some really basic information. You don't need to code along for this section, but once we move on to actually updating the bar chart, that's when I recommend you actually code along. But as for right now, just try to digest what I'm about to explain. So D3 transitions have a very similar concept to CSS transitions, where you have a point A and you have a point B. And you can specify the timing function and the duration if you so choose to, right? So in the same token, or in the same way, you can write transitions where you have a point A and a point B, in which you can write some details like the easing or the duration or the delay. Okay, so in this case, we have in the CSS, we have a button in which you hover over, which will turn orange, and through a duration of 500, and it's just really similar to D3. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how D3 looks. First, we have a selection, and we're going to append a rectangle to that selection. We're just going to write some code, and we're going to go ahead and give it some attributes. Give it a fill color of orange. Okay, so this is our point A. Okay, we have initialized the point, and what we want to do is make it transition to a fill color of blue. Okay, so all we want is our rectangle to go from orange to blue, our square to go from orange to blue. Okay, and how we do that is by saying transition, or just calling transition in the method chain. And we also describe a duration like so, and it accepts an integer that describes the duration in milliseconds. So in actually we're going to go ahead and make it 2 seconds, so 2000 milliseconds. Okay, let's go ahead and see how that looks like. So cool, we have a square that goes from orange to blue in 2 seconds. So let's say we want to change the height. Well, we have our height here, our initial point. We can just say in our point B, let's go ahead and say 400. Let's see how that looks. Cool. So in the 2 second duration, we have our orange square go from 100 height to a height of 400 and turn blue. Okay, so again, point A, point B, and our transition details and properties. We can also bring in an ease, and ease is kind of like our timing function, where you can say ease in and out and stuff like that. I brought in an ease bounce, and D3 ease has, on its GitHub page, has all these sorts of eases that you can use and toy around with. There's a lot, so you can toy around, play around with it as you so choose to. Okay, I like ease bounce for this one, or for this example, so let's go and bring that in and see how that looks. Okay, let's go ahead and see that. Okay, so it's bouncing. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the bar chart. So we're going to start off where we left off last time in the last video, and currently we have this, right? So we're going to go ahead and make some transitions for this. First off, you're going to have to bring in the related libraries, which are D3 transition, which is D3 transition and the corresponding type. And D3es and the corresponding types for that. I already have that installed, but you can go ahead and install that. And first off, we're going to go ahead and import D3 transition like so. And I have all these eases already, but we'll go ahead and take care of that a little bit later. But make sure you import like this. And for our first transition example, let's go ahead and make an initial transition like this, where you, on first page load, you go ahead and have these bars transition one after the other. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we want our bars to transition from the ground up, right? So where is our point A? Right, so let's go ahead and write our SVG, or go ahead and visually examine that. So we have an SVG height and an SVG width like so. Where is this? Right, so since we want to bring it upwards, where is this? Well, the Y is actually the height of the SVG. Right? It's the height. And what is the height? Well, it's actually just 0. And then we want to transition it to its to what we had originally. So let's go ahead and code that. Okay. This is our point A. Our height is going to be 0, like we said, and our Y attribute is going to be the height. Let's go ahead, and our point B is where we want it originally. So let's say transition, duration, and let's go ahead and say 300. Actually, let's give it a little bit more, 500. And let's see what that looks like right now. Okay. So how do we make it go one after the other? Well, we can introduce delay. And delay, you can say, you can give it a hard code value of 1000. So after 1 second, it will go ahead and make that transition. Or you can pass in a function, and I'm sure you can see where this is going. We've done this a lot already. And what this basically says, just transition it 100 milliseconds after the other. Or after the last transition has occurred. Okay. Now let's give it an ease. I've been really liking ease elastic, so we're going to go ahead and bring in ease elastic. Okay. And let's see how that looks. Cool, it looks really rubber band like. Kind of looks cool. All right. Now let's go ahead and make the transitions for updating the rectangles. Okay, we're not going to worry about exit right now. We're going to just worry about this portion. We're just going to work on the transitioning the DOM rectangles that have already rendered, okay? And so for this one, we're just going to add in a transition and a duration just so we can smoothly transition these bars as they figure out where their new attributes are. So all we need to do is just write transition and give it a duration, right? And we don't need to write a point A. They are already rendered. That is our point A. We're just going to give it a transition and give it a point B. Let's see how that looks like. So you see how they're shifting over? They're figuring out where the already rectangles, rendered rectangles need to be placed. That's what they're doing right now. So let's go ahead and make a transition for the rectangle that is being appended. And what I want to do is make it, just like we worked on previously, I'm just going to go ahead and make it shoot up from the ground. So we have we have our point A, which is going to be like so, and it's going to have a Y of dimensions.height, and the height is going to be 0. I'm sorry if you can hear that, but that's an ice cream truck, and it has not been through this neighborhood in a very long time, so that's kind of interesting. Well, I guess it is summer, so anyways, transition, duration, 500. Anyways, let's go ahead and see how that looks like. Cool, nice. So let's give it a little bit of easing. Let's see how it looks with an elastic ease. All right, cool. It doesn't look that seamless, but let's go ahead and see if we can add a little bit of delay for shifting the rectangles over, just so it can shift the rectangles and then bring the appended rectangle up. So let's go ahead and give it a bit of a delay. Let's see how that looks. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Cool, that looks nice. That looks nice. Yeah. All right, let's look at our exit transitions. And so for right now, we have this. It's just removing, and we're just going ahead and shift it over. So what we want is bring it down, and then remove it, and then shift the rectangles over. So let's go ahead and write that transition. So we already have the rectangles already rendered to the DOM, so we don't need a point A, or it's already there for us. So we're gonna go ahead and say transition, duration, let's go ahead and give it 300. And we're just trying to collapse it. So we're just gonna say, let's just give it the attributes of collapse of this. Now let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Add a couple. Cool. Let's add a slight delay for shifting of the already appended rectangles. Let's go ahead and give a delay of 100, which means I have to increase the delay here by, let's go ahead and increase it by 50. Let's see how that looks. All right, that doesn't look bad. Again, you can toy around and do some practice to your own satisfaction of where you want, how much delay you want, how much transition you want, and what you can do with the easings. You can do anything with that. All right, so those are transitions, and we are done. All right, I'll see you around.